go. And then sharing the screen. How's that looking?
That's looking pretty good. Looks like me. Various children.
There you go. Okay, so are you found your place? Yeah, lovely. Well done.
Okay. My background was in the IT industry with some fairly high-level jobs in high-power companies for about 20 years. Then, wanting more people contact, I moved across and tried some sales, still in the computer industry, and again with some pretty leading-edge companies. But then, feeling ever more disgruntled by the IT industry and finding that I enjoyed the buzz of training people, I left the computer industry and went into teaching for the next 15 years, where it felt like I'd finally found my true love and vocation. I did a university teaching course to re-qualify as a teacher, and then moved through gaining experience at private junior schools, state special needs centres, Microsoft applications in technical colleges, and on into lecturing in business and IT at degree level for Sussex and South Bank universities. I was very good at teaching, and under the right circumstances now, I believe I still am. But it all stopped after a 2004 major heart attack and then starting signs of dementia. My brain flatly refused to be doing as it was told and was driving up in the middle of sentences, imagining conversations and forgetting conversations. So I had to stop before I damaged my students' educational chances. Teaching stopped with taking voluntary early retirement on health grounds when I was only 50. I loved my travel, fishing, camping, walking, cycling. But again, all that fun stuff had to stop when my driving became dangerous, so I chose to stop. This decision also meant big changes, as I could no longer get to places or take my camping and fishing stuff anywhere. So my principal relaxation systems were now gone at a time when I needed them most. As things got worse, causing disagreements and problems at home, mostly due to my not working, but also the anger and apathy about it and life. Finally, in May 2014, 10 years into my dementia, a proper level of investigation started, covering in-depth written, graphical, audio, vocal, and mathematical cognitive tests, many blood tests, a lumbar puncture, MRI head scans, and nearly a 3-hour chat session with a psychiatric nurse. And eventually, in January 2015, I was told by the psychiatrist and a care coordinator, I have a mixture of vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease. I was quickly given some leaflets, a prescription for donepezil, promised a follow-up call once the news had sunk in, and then dispatched being told, we'll see you in a year. Yeah, right, okay, thanks. Well, that may seem pretty dismissive, and let me tell you, it felt like it was pretty dismissive. But having spoken about this to many people with dementia, unfortunately, it still seems to be the normal way of telling us. You've just been given life-changing, paralysing news brutally. How can it be done like that? Why do it like that? Do they assume that because you've got dementia, you'll forget it? Well, you don't. I still remember it now. One of our dementia peers, Tom in Maidstone, got to the end of his diagnosis delivery session, and the consultant asked him if he had all his affairs and important paperwork in order. Well, that doesn't do much to help keep your mind calm. Anyway, moving to Medway, coupled with my get out there and make it happen nature, paid off big time with a fantastic network of friends, supporters, watchers, and all the varied things to do that get offered to me. I busied myself with being proactive and finding help, support, things to do, places to go, slowly noticing what is right and wrong in our society when faced with dementia. I'm very lucky in that I'm still able to communicate well enough. So over the years, I've become well known in dementia land across the country, which usually puts me on a list whenever somebody is wanted to give views or advice on living with dementia. And I'm going to cheat a bit here by reading out part of another speech I gave at a Medway Dementia Action Alliance meeting, where I was asked to speak about my views for a better Medway. If you're trying to take dementia into account for any future plans, I would say this: please start by bearing in mind that the rule books in all walks of life are written for the usual, the commonplace, the average. We no longer live in that world, or maybe I should say we no longer fit in that world. What is obvious to the majority is not to us. What is clear as day to the many is not to us. What always happens does not to us. Almost any assumption based upon the way things have always been in the past will undoubtedly be a wrong assumption when it's applied to us, the ever-growing population living with dementia. Clear as day, I'm afraid, looks about as clear as mud. Always to others is sometimes or even never to us. Blindingly bright white to many is unfortunately invisible to many of us. A warning to use caution will usually mean don't do it to someone whose judgment is mangled by dementia. Things are not always obvious, and what works today will probably not work tomorrow. Yes, it's a pain and a problem. Do I expect the world to change to fit me? No. Just give me help, time and understanding. Getting angry or frustrated or talking louder at me just worsens the situation. If you cannot think how to resolve a situation, have the patience to ask, and we'll probably find a great solution together. I'm still me, I'm still capable. I just need help to find other ways to thrive in what is now a different looking and often difficult world to me. As conditions changed over time and I became a hazard in the kitchen, even more so than the average male, I had most things disabled. I do not need to use the oven or hob. I stick to a slow cooker, an omelette maker, a toaster, a George Foreman grill, and a steamer microwave combi oven. Plus, as anybody knows me very well, a non-stop boiling kettle, but sometimes I still fail in the kitchen. On some horrific days, I'm not even capable of making my own cuppa first thing in the morning. I get up, I go to the kitchen, and I look into what seems to me at that time a totally alien environment. I don't recognise the room, the equipment, or what to do with it. I just wander around touching things, picking them up and looking, but not really being able to work out how to use them and how to make my morning cup of tea. Usually it's mostly okay and I get the tea done, sometimes without sweetener or sugar, sometimes with or too much, sometimes with or without milk, and occasionally with water from a kettle that I didn't boil. Cold tea first thing in the morning is a sign of a bad day, so I hide back in bed until the fog clears in my mind. And as the frequency of not so good days worsens and my grip on the reins holding dementia loosen, my ways of coping will break down and I will need more and more of your knowledgeable awareness, caring, understanding, interventions, and hopefully forgiveness. So what I do across the world, the UK, Kent and Medway, and particularly here, is a bit mercenary as it's to protect my future. Anyway, it's a good job I got medically retired as I have no time for paid career work as I'm far too busy with dementia and teaching about it. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Oh, thank you, Wayne. I'm just going to come off the share so that we can all see each other. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And opening up to the students particularly, any questions for Wayne from what he said? Oh, you must have some questions. I know you don't have to stick to the questions that we originally we said, because they can be saved for later, but any additional questions that you'd like to ask Wayne about what he's just said, I'm sure he would like that. Don't forget to come off of mute. Eleanor, I can see you're off mute. Please go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you though, Eleanor, for some reason. You're off mute, but for some reason we can't hear you. Oh, try again. No. Not sure what happened.
Okay.
That seems to be working a bit better. Try again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your sharing, Wayne. especially the day-to-day, sometimes the moments that you went through. I mean, it's something very personal. Really appreciated that your willingness to share with us, so that we have the really insight understanding of someone with dementia, that what they or the individual is going through. It must be, how shall I put it? There are certain times that you have your frustrating moments in unable to do certain things at that moment, and yet you try to overcome it and the daily living, and come forward to do this sharing. All of you really deeply appreciate it, I want to say.
I have to be completely honest. That's the reason that we come to do these things, because yes, it's a little bit mercenary, because if you understand exactly what our life is going through and what we need, you're going to be able to help us in the future when we can no longer tell you, when we can no longer communicate. So there's a mercenary side to it as well, but also obviously, if we tell you and then you go out and have, not through yourselves, but through your teams, you have 100, 200, 1,000, even 10,000 clients, what a great job we've done, because we've changed the lives of those thousands of people, and that feels good. But yes, to be totally honest, as I kind of said, but it was half hidden, if I realise first thing in the morning that I can't even make my tea, I go back to bed and I will stay there. Obviously, I have to get up to go to the toilet at times, but I will stay there for the entire day, because that's what I need for my safety, security, comfort. So that's not really being honest and helping the world understand. I mean, like Rick and I live in the same complex. So like all the other neighbours, Rick doesn't, I'm not saying he doesn't believe I've got dementia, but he has no real idea. Lorraine has a much better idea, but Rick doesn't really have any idea of what living my dementia is actually about, because all he sees is, oh, this guy's great. You know, he's telling us he's had it for 19 years. Most people are dead by then, you know, and he's still doing this and doing that and doing the other. It's because I am kind of fearful or dishonest enough, I go and hide. When it's really, really bad, I hide. And I'm going to drop Lorraine in it now, in a way. And with Lorraine, you see, we both have lanyards that say, you know, I've got dementia. And whenever I'm going out, I wear mine. Lorraine takes hers with her, but at the bottom of her shopping bag. So if she gets into a problem situation, she'll go, hey, look, I've got dementia, help me. Whereas I'm advertising it whenever I'm out. But of course, if I'm having a really, really bad day, I'm not going out. Lorraine, you'll get the chance to recover.
I'm going to come in there, Wayne, because no, I feel like I'm having a Lorraine moment and a Mel. I select my victim very carefully, and I think that looks like a person that understands, and I'll go, that says, excuse me, I'll show me badge, not a warrant if you're a police officer. And I go, I'm having a bit of a struggle today, and I do it as lightly as I can, just so because sometimes your brain just sort of switches off and you think, oh, crikey, I'm having one of those moments. So, yes, Wayne is right. I do not display it around my person. It is in my bag, and it is also ready for if I get a wobbly moment. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you both of you. I think that's really important to also explain that, you know, Wayne kind of wears it as a badge of honor, you know, kind of, you know, this is who I am. Whereas Lorraine is a bit more kind of discreet about it. And that's our individual differences, isn't it? Which is really important. So obviously, that's why we talked about that yesterday, didn't we, and the day before with the students, about everyone's different, and it's about individual needs and what people's wishes, which can be quite different. So that's really important.
Sort of
Wayne.
on that, you see, like I say, I'm out there loud and proud in your face, you know, I've got dementia, and they're all looking and thinking, are you sure? You know, hasn't there been some sort of mistake? You're all this bright and breezy and able and capable, and you can sort out Zoom when there's technical issues. You know, how can you possibly have dementia? And one of Lorraine's most favourite things is when people turn around to her and say, you don't look like you've got dementia. And she loves it. She loves it. But that's because we're different.
Yeah, thank you. That was why I put my hand up, because I was just wanted to ask a question myself, if I may, is the fact that you obviously both Lorraine and Wayne, you have early onset or young onset dementia. So you obviously are younger than a lot of people. Most people are older. That's the more, because obviously the risks of having dementia increase with age. But obviously you have dementia that's at a very young age, and that was what I was going to ask you, is that do you often get people saying things like that to you, like you don't look like you have dementia, or people saying, well, you can't have dementia, you're not old enough, or things like that? Kind of, are these the kind of things that you do come across?
Yeah, I'll let Lorraine answer us. One of the things on there, one of the problems, one of the extra problems of being young and getting hit by dementia is that even the professionals and the doctors, they were like Lorraine. It took 3 years of examination. She works in the health industry, and it still took 3 years of her as an insider. I wasn't an insider. I didn't have that benefit. And it takes all that time because you're too young to have dementia. Even the doctors think you're too young to have dementia. So that's about 20 things down on the hit list that they're doing all this exploration to try and find out what is wrong with your brain before they get anywhere near dementia.
Thank you, Wayne. And Lorraine, may I ask you the same question about, you know, people thinking you're too young maybe to have dementia?
Yes, Laura, they did at certain times, but I as Wayne says, it brings an inner smile because I think I fit in. I don't look different. I love it, and it's like, and I suppose I'm not a secretive person, but I keep a lot of the time my dementia to myself if I'm with other people. But because of my associates, the people I mix with, it's dementia related. I can be more at ease, and I know they're not going to judge me if I do, or if I haven't got a script to me, I kind of look on my right side to the heavens, trying to piece a sentence together that you'll understand me, and things like that, or say the wrong word. So I suppose because I am in my 9th year, I've learned to I kind of stay away from people that may not have an understanding and wouldn't think I was a little bit odd. And that way, I don't get the stress with it. I've got to act appropriate. I've got to watch what I say. I've got to, it's too much. So I suppose once I did feel like that, but not nowadays, because I'm in groups where they're dementia orientated, they've got dementia, or they're a carer, or they're a professional. So I feel more at ease now.
That's really helpful. Thank you for explaining that. And I'm glad to hear that you feel more comfortable and you could be yourself in the circles that you're now mixing with. And that's because I think that's really important, isn't it? That it's okay to be private about yourself, but sometimes hiding things can be quite a burden as well. I would imagine quite a burden to hide things. So yeah, thank you for that. Anyone else got any questions for Lorraine, Wayne, or Rick? Precious? Oh, Wayne wants to say something.
Go on.
All I was gonna say, kind of on that subject, as ex teacher, I always feel, and whenever we've done any kind of sessions or talks anywhere, I get a certain amount of pride in a job well done of the script and the slides if people don't have many questions, because it means as a teacher I've told them what they needed to know. So there's a certain pride in there not being loads and loads of questions. If a teacher gets loads and loads of questions, it means that you're failing somewhere.
Good point, Wayne, well made. That's great. Well, what I was thinking is, well, oh, sorry, Eleanor.
Precious wanted a word, did you?
No,
No.
Eleanor does, I think.
Was there someone was that? Yes.
Yeah, Eleanor.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Eleanor.
well done. Thanks, Lorraine.
A question for Lorraine. Okay, thank you, Lorraine, once again. I heard you mention that you were diagnosed, if I may bring it back again, sorry, I have to bring it back again, that you mentioned you were diagnosed at the age of 61 and your colleagues noticed something different. So what brought you to the diagnosis? Because it is, even the doctor took 3 years to gave a diagnosis. So actually, just wondering what brought you to the diagnosis. Seems like it's not very obvious in certain way. And
one question,
also,
sorry, Eleanor, just one question at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to the diagnosis, Lorraine? May
Thank
I
you, Laura. Yes, what brought me to the diagnosis was let me give you a scenario, what happened, or I can recall one quite clearly. Because the crisis team's mental health community, this time I went to see a lady on my own, which was quite safe, because usually if it's an unknown person, we go in twos to protect ourselves and them, of course. I went to see this lady not far from base, Medway Hospital. I arrived there and I went into a flat and I did all what I needed to do in there. And it was when I came out, it was, oh, I don't know where I am. I looked round, I didn't recognise where I was. I looked at the signposts, they were alien to me. I didn't know what they said. And of course, what happens? Stress, panic, all comes into play, which doesn't help the situation. And eventually I found my car, got back to base, which was not, got lost several times. When I went back to the crisis team, I was so worried and distressed. I thought, well, what am I gonna, how can I say I got lost? How that sounds, what's this? So I walked in, really didn't know what to say. And I thought, well, I've got away with this. Nobody said a word. It was because things like this had been happening for a period of time. And 3 of my colleagues, which were my friends, I was a little bit annoyed with them because they went and told my line manager that I was alert in my usual self, performing in my usual self. So my line manager had a word with me and she said, is everything all right, Lorraine? I said, I've got a lot of stress going on at home. And she said, well, we think it's a little bit more than that. And I went, no. Once I've got these things sorted out in my personal life, I'll be okay, you know, maybe some counselling or something. She went, okay, well, I'm going to refer you to an occupational health consultant for KMPT. And I thought, okay. So when I saw this Dr. Hitchens, and to my amazement, she made a referral to neurology scientist clinic in Queen Square, London. And I thought, well, I'll go along with this because at the end of the day, I still got a job. So they'll do all the test and find out, oh, it's stress and, take another pathway. So that's how it all began. I didn't think it had dementia at all. When I was experiencing different oddities, I thought it was a brain tumour. I thought it was cancer. And I thought, no. Anyway, after the 3 years, it was young onset of genetic Alzheimer's. I wasn't going to accept that. I had a second opinion. And my line manager was so brilliant. She, another specialist in London, went to see that person and, well, there we are. So that's how it became about. But if I hadn't been in a hospital setting, or I don't know how, I think I would have been undiagnosed for a few more years because nobody.
Yeah, thank you, Lorraine.
I hope that's answered your question, Eleanor.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Sorry to have walked you through that moment again. So sorry.
No.
Much.
The filter's gone for all that. I don't have any sorrow or it's and that's why I'm here. I want you all to ask very brutal questions because this is the only way we can help you understand the lives of different dementia.
Thank you. Thanks, Eleanor. Thanks,
very much, Lorraine.
Thank you. And Wayne, would you like to come in as well?
Just on that to sort of pacify any concerns Eleanor or the others may have. Usually, sometimes at the start of a session or script or whatever, we try to make it very, very clear that not from an egotistical point of view, but Lorraine and I are probably two of only about 20 people across the entire country that are still at this level of communication capability, having had dementia for such a long time. So that's not meant to be ego tripping. And we believe we have a duty to the dementia world to say, we've now got all this masses of experience and we can still communicate it to you. So we want to answer any question you ask. It doesn't matter how personal, how probing, how in-depth it may be. This is our chance to do a service for the world that we could lose at any moment. So it's important that you ask and have no concerns whatsoever about asking. And can I just say a funny as well about Lorraine and her diagnosis? Because I remember some things that Lorraine has forgotten, but just to show the kind of nature of Lorraine, not only was she sort of, what do you mean dementia? Get out of it, I want a second opinion. But when that second opinion came in and they sat her down to show her the pictures of her brain on a computer screen, she says, well, how do I know that's mine? It's not got my name on it.
Well, true, isn't it? But my name was on it. In my date of birth, NHS number, it wasn't, really scrutinising, make sure it is mine. Mistakes happen.
They do indeed. Oh, and I think that's lovely because it really shows your feistiness, Lorraine, that we all love. So thank you for that. Again, looking at the time, we've got 10 minutes left, but I'm also very aware that we really do need a break now because we have been going for nearly 2 hours, and I think we all need, yes, a cup of tea, cup of coffee, or a comfort break. So everybody's thinking the same. So my suggestion is that we come back at 11 if that's okay. And then we come back at 11 and we start looking at the campaigning list and start talking about that. That still gives us a nice lot of time to do that, but just gives us 20 minutes away from Zoom, adjust our eyes, have a little walk around, make a cuppa, and then come back. Is that okay? And we'll use the same link because it seems to be working. So,
Yes.
all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks ever so much, everyone, and see you again in, oh, sorry, I said 11, but actually, I think it might be better to come back at 10 past. So I think about 20 minute break.
Do we leave and then come back on a link again then?
Yeah, on the same link again, but I come back
Right.
at 10 past 11.
10. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
All right then.
Brilliant.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.